Aloha, talofa, aroha, and welcome to another episode in our series of 1,000 Evidences for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. In this one, number 213, we will be talking about why so many Polynesians have joined the LDS Church. Having spent 5 years in the South Pacific Islands, I noticed that there was a large percentage of Polynesians who were LDS. While I was on my mission in New Zealand for 2 years, I met a lot of people who said they were hesitant to join the church because they thought the church was a Maori church. That was way back in the early 60s. It's because so many Maori people were LDS and so many of the LDS people were Maori. My initial calculations showed that 60% of the Tongans were members of the church. Double checking that number went down some. More official totals might be around 20 or 30%, but still, that's quite high compared to other countries. Samoa was not far behind. In this video, we'll talk about why so many islanders joined the church. The main reason could be the result of the prophecies of at least 5 chieftains called Tohungas that lived among them in the 1800s, particularly in New Zealand. When the preachers from other churches tried to bring Christianity to them, to civilize them, so they thought, the chieftains told the people, let's not join their churches, they are not true. One chieftain in particular, Arama Toiroa of Tamahia, New Zealand, said, the true church will be brought by men who will come 2 by 2 and will raise their hands to heaven in prayer. And that is what the LDS missionaries did in those days. Another reason for joining the church was the witness of the Spirit. Many of the Polynesians are very spiritual and have great faith and can sense spirituality and truth. I experienced this while I was in Fiji, traveling with my wife. We were tourists looking around some souvenir shops, dressed in an aloha shirt with a camera over my shoulder. An islander noticed us and approached. I'd never met him before. He had never seen me before. And he said, you are a Latter-day Saint, aren't you? I answered, yes. How can you tell? And he said, I can see it in your face. My grandfather, who served in Tahiti in the late 1800s, was asked to give a blessing to a member, probably to heal smallpox. The man was in a bungalow across a certain river, kept in quarantine, which was blocked by men who didn't want the disease to spread. So they went to block the passage of my grandfather and his companion, but suddenly they stopped and stepped aside to let the missionaries pass. After the blessing, my grandfather asked the guard why he moved aside. The man responded, because you too were walking a foot above the ground. Other miracles can be documented, like when John Groberg in the movie The Other Side of Heaven showed that a boy had died and was brought back to life. Also, there were stories about Matthew Cowley in New Zealand. As the islanders saw these miracles, it rekindled their own faith, and they were able to do miracles themselves. Another reason for their faith, of the Polynesians, is that members were treated as equals with the leaders and invited to give talks and direct the affairs of the meetings. In mainstream Christian world, the preachers did all the work. They wore fancy clothes and took all the glory. It was a one-man show. They did all of the took all of the responsibilities. The LDS leaders reminded the members, as the Book of Mormon teaches, that all are alike unto God, black, white, male, female, bond, free. In the mind of many of the non-LDS ministers, the islanders were thought of as uncivilized savages. The LDS missionaries, on the other hand, did not show that type of disdain toward the islanders. We had an earlier episode about the Tahitians symbolically tasting a piece of a dead body, which served as a type of a sacrament, meant to remember the one who died. This was not really considered cannibalism, but the clincher is the act that was similar to a sacrament. It was first delivered to one with the highest authority, just as we do in the church today. No doubt the islanders were impressed that the LDS sacrament was passed to the person who presided. By the way, this idea of passing the sacrament first to the highest authority was an early Christian practice of the early centuries after the death of Christ. One more thing, and then I'll say more in the next video. Polynesia has had a great respect for their ancestors. Islanders were surprised that the first non-LDS visitors did not go back very far in reciting their genealogies. They thought of the white people as bastards, like the Bible says. Paul uses that word to describe people who had not kept their genealogy and did not know their parentage. But the LDS missionaries did know their ancestry and took genealogical research very seriously. Another clincher in the faith the Polynesians had for the LDS religion. This disables the complaints of the detractors who say genealogy work is foolish. In the Bible, people invented false genealogies in an attempt to claim descent from Abraham, the father of the faithful, so that they could say that they were a chosen people. It was for that reason that the Apostle Paul labeled certain genealogies as foolish. We could go on and on to talk about these parallels between the islanders and the LDS Church, and we'll continue these evidences in the next episode. Suffice it to say, for now, there are many similarities to show why so many Polynesians joined the LDS Church. It's amazing. The church is amazing in its attention and important details. It has given me great joy and happiness, and a promise of such in the life to come. Don't miss any of our next episodes, and remember, call, don't fall. Call on the God of truth and happiness of all people. Don't fall for the blind guides that would lead you into darkness.